Are you live now? Okay. Okay. That's cool. Okay. There we go. Oh, all right. Well, I'm gonna sit down where you sitting down at.
Let's begin in Shemot, chapter 12.
Not this time. Not this time. Good try. All right, gonna open up in prayer. Get right into the reading. Huh? That way. Oh, good enough. Glad to know that works. Awesome. Wish I would have had some new stuff on there, though. All right. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and glory forever. Abba Yah, we thank you for allowing us to come together on another blessed day. Thank you for being our protection, for being our guide, for just blessing us according to all that you have blessed us with, Father. We thank you for allowing us to come together on this blessed Passover this evening, and we thank you for those who were able to come down in traffic and come safe and sound to partake of this with us, Father. We thank you for all those who are gathered together today for your Shabbat and for your holy day, Father. We pray that you may bless them with your spirit as you bless us with your spirit, and growing, learning your word, partaking of your spirit, Father, that we may be able to be a light to the world, Father. Continue to lead us, guide us the way you would have us to go. These are the blessings we ask in Yeshua's name. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Do you want me to shut the door?
No, unless they ask us to shut the door. Music was playing and they ain't asked us so far. So, would y'all be comfortable if the door was shut or okay? Huh?
It's fine.
Oh, you got. What's happening?
Get my backup battery.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not like the library.
Huh?
You know, the library probably, quiet.
Right. You make sure you hold up that finger when you walk out that door.
Yeah.
This ain't no library. Y'all know where that tradition? Y'all read where that tradition come from? I know y'all read that, right?
What?
Yeah.
Something to do with the slave.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. That is two traditions that I can think of. Yeah, because it was like they would get acknowledgement from their master and they hold a finger up when they wanted to be excused. I was assuming, yeah, they did. The other thing that the symbol is the ushers with the white gloves.
Make sure they weren't stealing.
Right. Or when they always had their hand behind their back while they had the plate. Always had their hand behind their back.
I do that when I'm serving.
Huh?
I do that when I'm serving.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, really? With your hand behind your back?
Well, when I take orders, I usually have some come off. That's how originally I was trained to serve.
Really?
Yeah. That's what you have to do, like in the fancy restaurants and stuff.
Oh, that's on the TV. I'm like, somebody having a 4th of July celebration today. Somebody else having Independence Day today. I'm going to turn that down. Okay, I thought that was you out there singing the Star Spangled Banner.
They singing it loud too, almost like they know me.
Is somebody singing it or the TV?
I don't know if it's the TV. I thought it's the TV.
All right.
It's the TV?
Huh?
It's the TV?
Yeah.
When we have it turned on?
No, after he do that, I guess it would probably be better. If not, we just close the door.
People turn up the TV just for that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, today we're going to go with our Passover lesson. Lesson on our Independence Day. And this time we're going to start in Leviticus. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And my focus is always not only, of course, what Passover is about, but it's also breaking down a lot of misunderstandings. Because again, like we were saying last night, there's a lot of bad teachings that people have on something that is really shouldn't be that difficult to understand. So we're going to go through some of that in this lesson. And if y'all don't mind, I'm going to try to take my time and do this because we have until 10 o'clock to clear this room. I ain't going to be up here at 10 o'clock. Okay. So yeah, Leviticus 23rd chapter. Those of you online who just might just happen to have just come upon this, sometimes I tend to teach lessons directed at people that already have a clue, and I be forgetting about people that have never even heard the stuff before. But in Leviticus 23rd chapter, this is the chapter in entire scriptures that contain every holy day that exists if you serve the creator of heaven and earth in the scriptures. Yeah. If it's not in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it is not a holy day. It's not a holy day, holiday, or however you want to define it. It's all man-made. Okay? So let's start reading that Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and verse 1.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, Concerning the feast of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
Right, and he call it feast. And again, in the Hebrew, I guess it depends on which passage they you're reading, because I know that the Hebrew word for feast is like kah, but then you have the word moedim, which means appointed time. And see, everything in here is an appointed time, right? But some appointed times are feasts, and some appointed times are not feasts. And I think that some people, they get some kind of confusion out of what they read here, because some people would consider the Sabbath as a feast day. Huh? Yeah, but the Sabbath is an appointed time. Moedim is that Hebrew word for that. It's an appointed time. But right, but he said even these are my feasts, because he's going to focus on his feast days, or we call it holy days. All right, verse 3.
6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
Right, so he starts off by giving us this weekly observance of the 7-day Sabbath. And even something as simple as that, because the Sabbath was given to us, right, in creation, right? And when it was given us in creation, he said 6 days you work, but the 7th day is that sanctified day that he hallowed and sanctified, a sanctified day. But now, because people, just like what you said last night, people are too smart, right? They come up with all these other kind of doctrines. They're like, well, what about the new moon? It's not counted in that. So you got to have a new moon, and then you count 7 days from there, and you get a Sabbath. 7 days from that. It's like, but the scriptures don't support that. No way in the scriptures. Every time they talk about the Sabbath, they don't say anything about the new moon being connected in that way of getting it. 6 days, 7. 6 days, 7. 6 years, 7. You know, 7 times 7, 49. It's consistent. You don't break it up. You don't break it up, and you don't try to intertwine it with and you know, here's the confusion. The confusion is this. Well, what they don't understand is that Genesis, the first chapter, it tells us that on the 4th day he created the lights in the heavens, right? For signs, seasons, days, and years. But the sun specifically gives us our days, that we count 6 and then 7, just like it's written in Genesis, the first chapter. We don't really look in Genesis, the first chapter, to see the specific order of the moon because it don't really mention it. But it does tell us that they are for signs, seasons, days, and years. But in Psalms 104, I think 104:19, it says that the moon was appointed for seasons. Seasons. So you got sun for days and moon for seasons. I mean, that makes sense to me, right? So if the moon is for seasons, that means that I'm going to get my months from the moon. They're not, don't try to connect them. They're separate. Huh? Because if they were connected, then there would be 28 days even every month. 28 days every month, right? And that 28 would fit into a year evenly. But the creation is not set up like that. You can't make the days, 7 days, 7 days, fit into the holy days in the same dynamic. Because the sun was not appointed for seasons. The moon was appointed. That's why it's telling you the moon is appointed for seasons. Because it's the moon that we're looking at to begin when he said the first month, the 7th month. It's the moon, not the days, whatever. But at any rate, and there's a whole lot of other ways that we can look at to kill that whole lunar Sabbath doctrine. But a lot of people fall for that because they haven't been taught. You know, you show them in the same chapter here in Leviticus when you talk about the Pentecost or Feast of Weeks. It tells us to do what? To make a long story short, count 7 Sabbaths. Right, that's 49, huh? Right, exactly. You add that day to get to 50. But just when you count in 7 Sabbaths times 49, if you stick a new moon in there, you're not going to, your count is off. And in 49 days, you're going to probably have 2 new moons in there. So I'm like, so what you going to do with that? See, you're going to believe something that ain't in the scriptures, but you're going to see something right there, and it's like, you know, it's not. And even what we're observing now, the Passover that we're observing now, there's a verse in Luke, I think it's the Luke 24th chapter. I'm just talking, and we could look at the verse later, where the guys appear in front of the disciples, and he said, don't you know what's been happening? It's been 3 days since this happened. He's talking about the resurrection when Yahshua rose. Okay, but when you look at it, like how do we put this? He died on the 14th day of that month, right? Right. So if he died on the 14th day of the month, we know that he died 3 days before he was resurrected. Y'all follow me? So that would make that to be what? About the 17th? Or even if you want to say 18th, right? But if that's the 18th, we know that it's scripturally the first day of the week, which means the day before was the 7th day of the week. But according to their doctrine, the 7th of the month, the 14th of the month, or someone say the 8th of the month, the 15th of the, right, the 8th of the month, 15, 22, 29. Those are the Sabbath days. But those couldn't be the Sabbath days because the 14th fell at that particular year in the middle of the week. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's too much stuff you have to take out to try to put something in that ain't even in there. You know? But anyway, those are just two ways from the Old and the New Testament that you could kill that whole doctrine that people do. But a lot of people follow that because, you know, it just, like you said last night, it's something new. Something new, right? Absolutely. But anyway, so here in that third verse, he says, no, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7 days of Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. We come together collectively on that day. You shall do no work on it. It is the Sabbath of Yah and all your dwellings. And again, the Father is giving these laws to an establishing nation that represent him, right? When you're outside of this nation, like we're outside the nation, we as believers absolutely do what we do to keep these holy days, Shabbat. But the laws of Yah are not the laws of the land. They're not the laws of the land. So we absolutely do the best that we can as believers, as sanctified ones, to do what but it's not sometimes. Some of these things are not as easy as they was because he's, again, talking to a nation, us, where, you know, if that stove opened its doors on Shabbat, they had to suffer the consequences for it. You know what I'm saying? Because there was no reason for that store to open up on Shabbat. But there's no nation that I'm aware of on the face of the earth that are subject to the laws of the Most High. And Egypt definitely was one of those that was definitely not subjected to him. So as a sanctified nation, he's given us these amendments of this Constitution so that we collectively can obey them. Okay? Verse 4.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
Right, so that's why he's telling you again, okay, I gave y'all the Shabbat, weekly Shabbat, but now these, what I'm going to give y'all now, are the feasts. Okay, go ahead.
In the 14th day of the first month between the evenings is Yahweh's Passover.
And you all say between the evenings? What word is the Bible that way?
King James.
Oh, that's the word of, okay, the word of Yah. Okay, I didn't know it said between the evenings in that. Okay, right. Right. Well, I mean, that's what it say between the evenings, but in the King James Version, uses the term even. To this day, I don't know why they use that term between the evenings. It sounds so. What do you think about that, Andrea, that term between the evenings?
I was confused at first.
Oh, see.
But then when you
Right.
said even, I was like, well, that makes sense.
But see, I tell people that, and people be thinking I'm crazy. I'm like, between the evenings,
Well,
when you hear that word,
that's a large time frame.
Huh?
Between evenings is a large time
Right.
frame. Like,
That's what I tell
wow.
them. I say between the evenings is morning. It's daytime.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But in the King James Version, they use the term even, which is so clear. Of the 14th day at even. So that makes you say even. Okay, well, what is that? That's the going down of the sun. Twilight. I don't get that in the term between the evenings.
I had to cross it out of mine, so I wouldn't say it. So I put at even.
And the reason why it's so confusing to me because Genesis 1st chapter says the evening and the morning, first day. Evening and the, so you look up the evening, it means night. So is that between two nights? You see what I'm saying? That's the way my mind conceived it because I know what the word evening means by definition. It means dark, night, black. But when I look up the word even, it means the going down of the sun. Matter of fact, we're going to read the verse that's going to tell us that. Or twilight.
The concordance says that word is eret, which is evening or night.
Right. And see, here's what, this is what happens with that, with this. The way that Hebrew is, I don't care how many Hebrew words we learn, we would never be able to know Hebrew the way that our forefathers did. Because we learn it from almost from an English understanding dynamic. But the way they knew Hebrew was, huh? Yeah, it was, and the reason why I'm saying this is because this. In Hebrew, one word can have like multiple meanings. Mm-hmm. But in the English that we're all familiar with, one word is multiple meanings is going to fit like it's the exact opposite, right? You can have many words that all mean the exact same thing, right? Because you can find a specific word that's going to fit, but in Hebrew it's not like that. It's the exact opposite. So, and this is the best case because in Arab, and I always like to tell my story, I understood that there was a difference between evening and even just from reading the scriptures. So I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm talking to my cousin's husband, who's a moray up there. And I'm telling him, I'm saying, brother, evens and even is two different words. He says, no, bro, they're the same word. And in some Bibles, they even use evenings instead of even. But King James Version, for some reason, it separates them good, properly. He said, brother, because both of the words, even and evening, both come from Arab. I said, well, bro, I know they different words, man. He said, look, I'm going to show you something. He ain't never looked it up, but he went and grabbed the Strong's Concordance. Strong's Concordance looked it up. When he saw evening, it had a different number to it. And it said night. And it gave the number to it. Comes from the word Arab. And we look at even, it had a different number to it. And the translation is twilight. Comes from the word Arab. Same word. Two different, and I had, I never even seen it. He never seen it either. Because he thought it was because she was going to go there to show me that both come from Arab. But I was like, yeah, but it's two different numbers though. Come from the exact same word. It tripped me out. Because I wouldn't have even thought to look at Strong's Concordance to see how it was broken down. But I was like, wow. But yeah, the Bible don't just arbitrarily use one word and say, oh, I just want to use this word this time. I want to use this word. And you would be surprised, even this year, I've dealt with Maureen that don't even understand it. Don't even comprehend it. But anyway, it says on the 14th day at even, or as he said, between the evenings, is Yahuwah's Passover. In verse 6.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread.
Right. And so when you read both of those, they sound like they're two different events, 2 different days. And a lot of people keep it just like that.
Yeah.
Huh?
They do.
They keep it.
The other.
Right.
Yeah. Congregation I was with.
Yes. The congregation I was with too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. Because, but what they miss is, okay, but the 15th day ain't said nothing about between the evenings or red or even or whatever. The 14th day did. So what you're going to find out is that the 14th day, they eat it just the going down of the sun. Just those couple of hours. And the way the Father operates, same thing with the 3 days and 3 nights thing. A day to the Father is the whole day, not a piece of the day. Don't count. The whole, if it's not the whole day, or if it's just that even, that ain't nothing but the starting off point. And he calls it Passover specifically because the lamb is being killed at this particular time. 2 things are happening on the 14th day at even. The lamb is being killed, and we're beginning to eat unleavened bread, which we're going to read. Both of those things is happening. But the scripture said, and I got it, but rather the first day of unleavened bread is the 15th day. I'm like, okay, but I'm going to go in there and show you when you begin to eat unleavened bread. Yeah. Okay? But yeah, so that's all we're going to read right here. Matter of fact, we're going to go right to it. Let's go to the very beginning. That's just the 12th chapter. Huh? Exodus 12. Uh-huh. But that's what it is. They don't catch that word even to allow them to see the specifics of that is the same time. It's only giving you matter of fact, I'm sorry. Let's go back to where we was at just now. I might as well read that. Leviticus 23rd chapter.
23.
Yeah, 23rd. Leviticus 23rd chapter. And again, because again, how I learned it was from right here. And that was the Day of Atonement. I'm going to read that. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and verse 23.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation.
Hallelujah. Skip down to 27th verse.
Also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you. And you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
Right. Skip down to the 32nd verse. 31.
You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Sabbath.
Right. So there it is. So you know it's only one day of atonement. It's not 2 days of atonement. Right? But it begins on the 9th day at even. Right? That's the end of the day. Simple as that. It's the end of that day. Not the beginning of the day, not the middle of the day, but the end of the 9th day. Right as the sun is about to go down to the 10th day. And this is how I learned it right here. This is where I learned it. When I saw that, I'm like, 9th day? Wow. Because I'm reading without no understanding. I just read 2 different days, did I not? Huh? 9th and 10th. But it's only one day of atonement. So I mean, to me, it's just really just like that simple. So I try to show people. I'm like, and I'm telling them, I say, bro, show me a feast of Passover and a feast of unleavened bread. Show me where they had 2 different feasts, because it was only one feast. And as the 12th chapter, it was just the one. But because people are not really reading it, they not seeing. Let's go into that Exodus 12th chapter and read that. Exodus 12th chapter is, man, people have so much confusion when it comes down to what we are observing. Here's another confusion. We can't observe Passover because we're not in the land. You heard that all over the place, right? Right? And okay, well, that's because you're not really reading what the scripture's saying. Somebody done told you something, they just showed you a few things that might sound right, but that's not what it is, okay? But anyway, that's the 12th chapter. Let's start at the 1st verse.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the 1st month of the year to you.
There it is. Hallelujah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, people, just like when the question was asked, how do they justify Christmas? People don't really care about what the scriptures are saying. How do they justify New Year? Right. Well, okay, now we're talking about Rosh Hashanah, right? 7 months, right? Well, okay, Rosh Hashanah is 7. So there was 7 months before Rosh Hashanah, and it's probably 5 more months after Rosh Hashanah. So what's the Hebrew word for middle? Maybe we should call it middle Hashanah or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I mean, right here, it is the new year right here. New year. And just like I always point out when I read this, is that at one time, the entire world kept this true calendar. Right. Even this system that we're in. Because before Julius Caesar, Julian, and so-called Pope Gregory and Gregorian did their thing, right? They knew that March, springtime, what we call March, was the 1st month of the year. They knew it. you know. And because we live in a society where names don't really have meaning, you ask the average English person, English-speaking person like myself, you all, what does your name mean? Most of us don't even know what our own names mean. Huh? You think that if you ask the average dude named George, what does your name mean? You think he's going to break down what his name means? Henry, what does your name mean? Sally, what does your name mean? Because that's not the culture that we live in. They don't, but again, at some point they probably did, because again, March is 1, April, May, June, July, August, September. September is 7.
In Latin, technically means 7th month.
Right, absolutely. So that just shows you that they knew it at one point, that they observed the true calendar, right? September, October, 8, 9, November, 10, December. They knew it. But when some dude came on and said, I'm going to create my own calendar, then that's when confusion arose. You know, you already done took out the dynamic of using the moon to signify when your months begin. Now, I'm going to tell you when the months begin. Matter of fact, I'm going to name a month after me.
Right.
Huh? And I'm going to give it however many days I want. And then the nephew came on the scene and said, wait a minute, I'm Augustus. And I got to have the same amount of days as my uncle, Julius had. So I'm going to take a day from one of the other months and make mine 31 like his. That's what they did. Crazy. You know? But then when we're born as kids, we just take all that because we were born into it without, right?
Couldn't make a decision for ourselves.
Right. Not only could we make the decision for ourselves, but
That's what we were taught.
right, you can't question that there's something wrong with it. Why would you think there was anything wrong with it? You know? If
the majority was going along with it.
Right. You were just born into a system, you know. I mean, it's heavy, but again, knowledge and understanding is how you're able to really discern good from evil. And if you hadn't been really taught it, you don't have no wherewithal. And just like the question that we was asked earlier, people have to want to seek after it.
Right.
You know, people have to want to first I know that they have been deceived. Right? Because that's how most of us got into the truth. When someone had made you aware that something that you believed in was not really what it was, you at that point had a decision to make in your mind. Am I going to continue to deal with this because it's tradition and because it feels good, and I don't want to be stigmatized by my friends, my family, all that, or am I going to learn more?
Right.
Because and the reason why you want to learn more, well, most of us want to learn more, is because we have the fear of the Creator in us. Right? It was the fear of the Creator that made you all hearken.
Right.
And be like, man, hold up. I need to get a little bit more of this. Because I've been lied about something as simple as this. What else have I been lied about? Right? Okay. So, going back to this, Exodus, the 12th chapter. So we got that. This is the beginning of months. 3rd verse.
Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it between the evenings. Okay,
so let me think. Okay, so take it from the sheep, or from the goat. Could we take it from the cows? Huh?
No.
Can't take it from the cows. Okay, can't take it from the cows. What I'm getting at is the fact that he specified sheep or lamb, right? Could we take it from the bullocks?
No.
Huh? Right. I can go on the scripture to show you where bullocks have been sacrificed, right? Right? We can read that. Leviticus 16 chapter talks about bullocks being sacrificed and other things, right? But we talking about the Passover lamb, he limited to sheep and goats. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's like last night we was talking where you had some people talk about, well, as far as unleavened bread, it's only supposed to be barley because barley was the grain that we looked for a bed back.
In Israel.
Huh?
In Israel.
Well, that's a good point. In Israel. But yet and still, in Israel, anywhere else, the scripture don't really say that, though. It don't identify your bread must be of the barley grain. So if it's telling us that the lamb has to be a sheep or goat, we can't just assume that we should take any other animal and call it a Passover if it's not a sheep or a goat. And in other words, the Father is very specific. We're not supposed to add or take away from anything that he's saying in the scriptures, okay? So he said we should keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. Then the whole assembly shall kill it. And here it says at twilight. So it's really in the evening. At twilight in the evening. So that's what the Passover basically is. Read the 7th verse.
And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the 2 side posts, and on the upper doorpost of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the inner parts.
Oh, man. So when we eat the Passover lamb, can we just kill the lamb and then cut it up in different parts and then heat it up and cook it?
No.
He's real specific about what he's saying in terms of how the Passover lamb was killed. It was killed in total without being cut up or nothing. He's very specific of how it is done. Okay? Go ahead.
11.
Uh-huh.
And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover.
Wow. So, it's something very fast that's going on here, right? Something is happening here that he's telling us that we have to be dressed up. We can't even be barefooted. Because y'all about to get up out of here.
Right.
And you ain't gonna you ain't even going to sleep. You don't even have time to sleep. That's how hasty this was. And the thing is, this is the one feast that they're keeping. It's called the Feast of Passover, and it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's the same thing. There's not two different things that was happening here. Okay? And they were staying up all night, and they were listening to, just like in the movie Ten Commandments, the screams of the people screaming because the firstborns were being killed in a different household that did not have the blood on there. Go ahead.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I strike the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you.
Now, here's something very important. So he done described to us at this point about having this lamb held up from the 10th day until the 14th day of being killed in the even, how it's being sacrificed, roasted with fire, and how we're going to eat this lamb, and how we're going to take the blood and put it on our doorpost, because it's through that blood that we won't have death in our household. And if you don't have the faith and belief to put the blood on your doorpost, then there's going to be death on the other side of that door. Okay, right. Okay, so he doesn't describe everything, but now here's something very specific that applies to us. He's talking about something very specific to them at that specific time, but now he's going to switch it to something very important for us to understand. And a lot of us don't understand this because we're not really reading it as the way as it's written. But go ahead, 14th verse.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever.
There you go right there. He said, first of all, he said that this day, he didn't say the sacrifice or the lamb, which is part of it, but he specifically said the day shall be a what?
Memorial.
A memorial. So that's what we're doing. We're keeping this day as a memorial. And when we read this, we'll find that this day, the memorial aspect of it does not necessarily have to do with the killing of a lamb. It don't have to do with having to be in Jerusalem to observe it. Because the criteria, as we're going to read later on, we haven't read it yet, was that only the priest could do the sacrifice of the Passover, or everybody could not do it. Only the priest was limited to do it. And it, and it could only be done in, right. But then he's going to say the place where I chose to place my name there, which we come to know as Jerusalem. Right? See, that's another thing that confuses a lot of people. When Yahshua said, not one jot or tittle shall the no wise pass from the law to all people feel, he meant that. So people say, well, what about the sacrifice? Well, wait a minute. That has not been really done away technically either. It's just the conditions by which we were able to do it don't exist no more. You see what I'm saying? Because that confuses people when you read that not one jot or tittle. But wait a minute, what about this, that, and other? Well, wait a minute. Same thing with eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That was all done under a Levitical priesthood. I couldn't just take this brother's eye out because he took my eye out. I had to go take him to the established authority of the priesthood so that they could judge him to have his eye taken out, or death, or whatever offense that the scriptures speak of. Just like when they brought the sister who committed adultery to Yahshua, and they called him rabbi, right? Master, what should he do, right? As if he had the authority or whatever, right? But they couldn't have just killed her on the spot like that. They had to go through the process. Right. But those proper channels don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. So therefore, I can't administer eye for an eye. I'm not supposed to do just whatever I want to do, execute judgment on that person, because it's not given for me to do it. Nowhere in the scripture. I mean, it makes common sense when you understand the totality of it. So when people try to say, well, what about this law? What about that law? You got to understand everything around that law to understand that when Yahshua said what he said, he meant that. No part of the law should be done away with. Not one jot or one tittle. But because people don't understand the whole dynamic of the law, they throw them little crazy little comments at you. And if you don't understand the dynamic of the sacrifice and the judgments and all that, it may kind of, confuse you too when you not thinking about it. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, where did we leave? Okay, yeah, the 14th verse. It says, this day shall be unto you a memorial. And that's what we're keeping. We're keeping this memorial because he commanded us that you shall keep it a feast to Yah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an everlasting ordinance. Meaning there should not be nothing that will prohibit you from keeping this memorial. Go ahead. 7
days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Hallelujah. And, and we do the best that we can to remove all the leavening. And not just the leavening, but the stuff that contains leaven. We do
it's
it.
Tricky.
Huh?
It's tricky.
But you know what? We do the best that we can, but the focus is, he tell us, whoever eat leavening bread the scripture says, right? We got to be careful about people that's adding. I'm not adding. He said if you eat leavened bread, you'll be cut off from Israel. Absolutely.
Wow.
So we absolutely do the best that we can. About what's the dollar amount you said that we threw out these past 2 days?
Oh, about 100.
Yeah.
A little bit more, maybe.
It's a shame how we get lax in knowing that there's stuff in the refrigerator that needs to be eaten or whatever, and then you're looking at, like we had this $20 box of unopened box of burgers. The burgers. They had the leavening in there, the veggie burgers, whatever. Yeah. She had her beer, your beer. Right. But like I said, we do the best that we can. But we know, hey, veggie burger in the refrigerator, but yet I'm going to go to Chili's and get me a black bean burger. Because I'm lazy. And now I had to pay the price for it. Anyway,
I'll make you some.
all right. That's right. Get my stuff back. Right. And, okay, so he said it's a feast by everlasting ordinance. Then he tells us the specific of this feast, which is 7 days you are eating unleavened bread. And as you eat unleavened bread, you have to take all the leaven out of your house. That's what's required in keeping this feast of unleavened bread. That is the feast that we are keeping as a memorial. Okay? He hasn't mentioned anything about the lamb yet. But if I go by this, the lamb ain't even part of the memorial. Huh? It's not. Because I'm going to read it until he stops talking. Right? Okay, the 16th verse.
And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation unto you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
Right, so that's why we are able to cook and heat up stuff and everything as opposed to any other Shabbat, because that's the work that we're able to do that pertains to eating. Okay, go ahead.
And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
Right. What day is that he's talking about? That he brought our armies out of Egypt.
Absolutely.
But what day? What that? What day is that?
The 14th?
That day that began on the evening of.
I like how she said it. How she said it's correct. Right. Not the 14th, it's really the 15th. Right. But the way you said it was also this the day that began on the 14th that evening, right? But it's the 15th day that because that's the day that he brought our armies out of Egypt, on the 15th day, right? But like the way she said it.
At night, with your staff in your hand.
Right. Right. Okay. Finish that. Read that 17 one more time.
And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
Mm-hmm. Watch this. Go ahead.
In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even.
And see, I'm glad it says even in what you read there. It didn't say even at first, but yeah. But see that? And see again, this confuses people because they don't understand that even part. It said, because I was going back for, but Leviticus said that the 15th day is the first day of unleavened bread. I said, yeah. I said, wait, hallelujah. Hey, shalom. I said, but here it says you begin to eat it on the 14th day at even. So if people don't understand the even part, it will confuse. Wouldn't that confuse you if you didn't understand the even part? Because it confuses this guy. Like the 15th day is the first day of unleavened bread. Right. It's not the 14th day, but it begins on the 14th day at even. And so again, because they don't understand this, is the reason why they're keeping 2 separate days. Right, that's why they're keeping 2 separate days. Because they're reading 14 and 15. But when you go read this entire Exodus chapter, it's only one feast. It's not two different feasts. And that's why, and then you got some people will say, well, the Passover, brother, is not a feast. You ever heard that before? When the people say the Passover is not a feast. Where I came from, that's what they say. Because they will only do the bread and the wine or whatever on the 14th day, right? Yeah. And then the 15th day, they have all the food. Yeah. Right. But it's the same feast. And later on, when I was looking at this, I said, wait a minute, it does say Feast of Passover. That ain't what it's supposed to say, but it ain't really the Feast of Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's the Feast of Passover. Because it's the same thing. One and the same. Ain't no two different days. It's just the same thing right there. So anyway, so when you understand that, then when you read all the subsequent scriptures about it, it makes sense, especially in the New Testament when he says, and then came the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is called Passover. Brother, that's the way it says in the Greek. You got to read it in the Hebrew. Yes. Yes. What it doesn't say something different than what it just said there? It's telling you that it's the same thing. I don't know is it a line in the Greek or what? It's crazy, but because now, like I said, but that even part is the thing that they just don't get. And I mean, it's so many people that misses that. Okay, but anyway, 19. Go ahead.
7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eats that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Mm-hmm. You shall eat nothing leavened, and all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread.
And you know what? And here again in the 19th verse, he said, whether he is a stranger or a native in the land. That's another thing we as a people don't comprehend. Even though Israel is a bloodline, as a nation, as a people, he's dealing with a nation. And a nation consists of people that are not part of the bloodline. But they're subject to the same laws and statutes as, if I go to Japan, because I am an African American, do I not have to follow the laws and statutes of Japan? Especially if I apply for citizenship of Japan, right? Or any other country, Roman, any other country. But for some reason, as Hebrew Israelites, we think it's just the bloodline. We think it's just the bloodline. And then what makes it so bad, even more so than that, is in this captivity that we are in, 2,000 plus years. I can tell you, I'm standing before you all, but there's a possibility my fourth, fifth grandfather could have been a Gentile, right? Because when you see throughout the scriptures, they could reckon their ancestry for working in the temple. They could reckon that, and if you didn't have a reckon of your descent, you're not part of the Levitical priesthood. So I'm saying, and the reason why I'm saying that also because just people that I know. You look at somebody like a Bob Marley and his kids, and you think Hebrews, right? But they're not Hebrews, they Gentiles. So that's the reason why I'm using myself as an example. So how am I going to try to teach other people if they can't be saved or they can't be part of Israel? And I can't even show you my ethnicity. I can tell you who we are as a people. I know that we Israelites as a people because we got the size. But specifically, because the Marleys is, besides them being musically inclined, they curse. And I'm sure there are other Jamaicans that have the same ancestry that they got. Right? Descendants of the slave masters. We ain't carrying these names that we carrying for nothing. But see, I'm not foolish enough to be thinking, man, like some Israel. Man, if I had to find out I was a Gentile, man, I might as well just shoot myself in the head. You from New York, so y'all know you done heard something similar to that. You know, I'm just saying how stupid, how crazy our mindset is, because we don't understand that we as a people were given a job. It wasn't about a chosen people. It was about a people that it was just like a police officer. Like if I'm like a civilian now, but then I make a pledge to be a police officer, whatever I feel it ain't supposed to be a part of it, I got to do my duties as a police officer to determine the law. It's like I always give these little Black Panther examples in my lessons. Y'all hear it all the time, right? Like the sister that was the head of the what they call it? Right. When T'Challa lost the throne, she told him, she's like, look, I am faithful to the throne. It don't matter. She loved T'Challa, right? But her position required her to be obedient to whoever it was that had the throne. And so as a people that was given the task of being a priest nation, a blessing to all nations. If my personal feelings can't get into it. Man, these white people done beat my ancestors, they done did this, that, and that, and I can't wait for it. Wait, no, that's not required of that. Your personal feelings don't fit into it. Not if you got this book in your hand, it don't fit into it. All right, where we leave off at?
Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel, and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning.
Mm-hmm.
For Yahweh will pass through to strike down the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to strike you down. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever.
Right, and see, that was also something that we observed, but that was as long as we had the Levitical priesthood. Because if you ain't got a Levitical priesthood, if you're not in the Holy Land to do this, you can't do this part of this observance. That's the reason why he isolated the 14th verse to the 21st verse, to the 20th verse. You see how he isolated it? He spoke of how we should keep the memorial. 7 days unleavened bread. He gave us the beginning point from the 14th day at even to the 21st day at even. Hey, Aki, do you need a scripture? Anybody need another scripture? Anybody need one? Oh, y'all use the phone? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm surprised you ain't on the phone. Okay. All right, but anyway, yeah, but I mean, but y'all see how specific that is in terms of keeping the memorial. So therefore, we don't have to deal with the arguments of, you're not in the land, so how you keeping Passover? We're not required to be in the land to keep Passover. And the fact of the matter is, they wasn't in the land when they kept Passover. A fact of the matter, right? But as far as where we are now, that was not the requirement. This is the memorial that we're keeping. Matter of fact, all the feast days are really a memorial, right? Right? Right. So that is why I know so many Israelites be like, man, we ain't supposed to be doing that. That's not what the scripture says. It's not what it says at all, okay? Moving right along, and I'm kind of doing it. I do this. I don't have a written lesson on this. It's just certain key points that I remember in it. But anyway, he told them then, that they did after that do the thing with the blood and with the sacrifice and all that. But we're not able to do those things now because the criteria for us to do that does not exist anymore. All right, let's go on to Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter.
Verse 1.
Yep, Deuteronomy 16 chapter, the first verse.
Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Almighty One. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh your Almighty One brought you forth out of Egypt by night. You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Almighty One, of the flock and the herd, and the place which Yahweh shall choose to place his name there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction, for you came forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of your life.
Mm-hmm. And real quickly again, when do we begin eating unleavened bread? 14th day at even. That's right. 14th day at even. And the reason I'm saying that because I got into it with a moray, and he's like, well, brother, I don't know what y'all. We keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is on the 15th day. I don't know what y'all do on the 14th day, but we don't do nothing on the 14th day. I'm like, Scripture tells you what you do on the 14th day at even. Right? You ain't got the lamb, but you still eat the unleavened bread. And matter of fact, what we do is the very same thing that Yahshua did with the disciples.
Right.
Because we don't read that there was no lamb there when they was eating their dinner. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it doesn't matter if it was or not. It wasn't about that. We did read where he said, take this bread, for it is my body. And take this, the fruit of the vine, for it is my blood. We read that specifically, right? That's what he was doing, was showing them what we already read in Exodus, the 12th chapter, 14 through the 19th verse. The memorial. And then he says, as often as you do this in remembrance of me. So we memorializing two things on Passover. The birth of our nation and the Messiah being the Lamb. Real simple dynamic. I mean, it's not really hard, but people make it hard because they're not really reading what the Scripture is saying. It's not that difficult. Okay, the second, what verse you stopped at?
I stopped at 3.
3, okay, go ahead.
Well, actually, I finished 3. So
read that 3 again. I'm sorry.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, 3.
You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For you came forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of your life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with you in all your coast 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh, which you sacrificed the first day at evening, remain all night until the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates, which Yahweh your Almighty One gives you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the place which Yahweh your Almighty One shall choose to place his name in, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Egypt.
And see, that's the definition of even, right there. At the going down of the sun, specifically. So even and evening are not the same word. Evening is night, darkness. And again, we read the reason why we don't have no lamb here now. Because he says you don't just do this anywhere you want to do it, as far as the lamb is concerned. Now, as far as the memorial is concerned, the 7 days, unleavened bread, you can do that anywhere. That's not limited to no single place, okay? All right? We're halfway there. Let's go into the New Testament. Let me see. I think that's Luke that I want to read. Oh, yeah. Luke, the 22nd chapter. And you're going to have a whole lot of people of so-called higher understanding. They go like, man, that's how you reading that. It's not what it is. But it's what it is. Luke 22 and verse 1.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
No. It's not the same thing. Huh? What's he say?
Oh, I said never seen that day before.
Yeah. The Feast of Unleavened Bread drew near, which is called Passover. It's one and the same. It's not a separation of the two. But like you say, you read the Leviticus 23rd chapter, and you say, wait, that's two different things, right? But it's the same thing. It's just like I say, if there was a word that we could say for the beginning of the Day of Atonement on the night day at even, like we could word for it, then that would seem like it's two different events. Night day at even, called whatever, right? But the 10th day is the Day of Atonement. So that's like two different things, right? Right. So it's the same thing. Go ahead.
And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Then entered Satan into Judah, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. And he went his way and communed with his chief priests and captains, how he might betray him into them. And they were glad and covenanted to give him money. And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And they said unto him, Where will you that we prepare? And he said unto them, Behold, when you are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he enters in. And you shall say unto the good man of the house, The master says unto you, Where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples?
Okay, now, again, this confuses a lot of people, but Yahshua was very specific. He said, You shall say to the master of the house, the master says to you, Where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? Because you have people debating about, well, was that the Passover that they was eating him with the disciples? He called it the Passover. Why should I, because I'm so smart, that it could be the Passover? Because he died with the Passover. He absolutely did, but that don't mean that he could not show them a day before, 24 hours before, what they would be doing from now on. Because there was a change about to take place. And not the change in the date or the observance, but just in the change of the priesthood, that we weren't no longer going to be doing these lambs and sacrificing whatever. I am the lamb. And so I'm going to show you all how we are to keep the Passover from henceforth, which is exactly what we do right here. Memorializing the day. What he's going to show right here. But he absolutely did it 24 hours before the actual time of the Passover. Right? But don't say, because he didn't do it at the exact time of Passover, that this wasn't a Passover. Huh? Because we so smart. You know what I'm saying? Come on, go ahead.
And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, What desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer.
And he's telling you again, with fervent desires in it, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. He knew when he was going to suffer. So that would be a stupid statement that he made, to eat this Passover before I suffer, because he knew that he was going to be the Passover lamb. You see what I'm saying? So this is the Passover that he's keeping, even though it's 24 hours before the actual Passover. Go ahead.
For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of the
Right.
And he took the cup and gave thanks, and said, Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of Elohim shall come. And he took bread and gave thanks, and brake it, and gave it to them, saying, This is my body which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you.
Hallelujah. Man, that's beautiful. Hallelujah. All right, let's go on to John, the 19th chapter. Let's read about what happened 24 hours later.
John, what chapter?
19, John 19. And I only got a couple of more quick spots after this.
19:1.
John 19:1.
Then Pilate therefore took Yahshua and scourged him. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe, and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again, and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth unto you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahshua forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore officers, saw him, they cried out, saying, Hang him, hang him.
Mm-hmm.
Pilate said unto them, Take you him and impale him, for I find no fault in him.
Right. And so it was just interesting that our leaders, our people, absolutely wanted to put him to death. Right? And so, but see, they couldn't even put him to death without the permission of the ones who ruled, the Roman government. Interesting. They had no authority to put him to death. Right? So they're hollering, and here's something that really, I didn't even want to go here. Here's something really interesting about them. Where's this at? John, the 10th chapter. Because it was interesting why they really wanted him dead. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. I'm trying to find where the chief priest was talking among themselves, and Zechariah says it's expedient that one man should die, and not for the whole world. Let's read that real quick. I think this is interesting. This kind of blew my mind when I first read this years ago. John 11 chapter. Yeah. John 11 chapter. Let's start at the 45th verse.
40.
Yeah, John 11 and 45. I think it's kind of important to read this because we read them saying crucify, but then, it's good to have a little backdrop to why they were so zealous and wanted him crucified. All right, John 11 chapter and the 45th verse.
And many of the Jews which came to Miriam and had seen the things which Yahshua did believed on him.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahshua had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, What do we? For this man does many miracles.
Mm-hmm.
If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation.
And which is interesting because in the chapter before then, these same men say, we be servants to no man. Huh? Right? But here it is now. They're scared now. A chapter later, right? They're scared now. They're like, man, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans, who have the power to do this, shall come and take away both our place and nation. See, they ain't know that the end was already written for them. Already. Simple as that. There was no way they were going to be able to save their place and the nation. But go ahead.
And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, You know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spoke he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahshua should die for that nation.
Mm-hmm.
And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together and one the children of the Almighty One that were scattered abroad.
Wow. Hey, man. Right. So Caiaphas was on a little bit higher understanding than what the rest of them was on. Huh? They was on their little politic thing. But he was like, man, y'all don't know nothing at all, nor consider that it is of the utmost importance that one man should die for the people and that the whole nation perish not. And that's why when we understand about, he carried our sins, he died for the nation, he's very specific in why he was crucified. And then, so again, when we go back to where we was at, which is John the 19th chapter, Oh, I'm sorry. Read 53rd verse.
Then from that day forth they took counsel together to put him to death.
Right. So now they like, oh, okay. It has to go down. This man cannot survive. But I mean, the thing is so deep, though. I don't want to make this lesson longer than it has to be. But even on Yahshua's end, Yahshua was dealing with Peter. And Peter was absolutely like, when Yahshua had told him, I'm going to read this, he told him, look, in 3 days, I'm going to die. And he was like, oh, no, that's not going to happen, you know what I'm saying? And then Yahshua said, hey, get thee behind me, Satan, for you speak of things of men and not of the Most High. So Yahshua even had to deal with his believers that also did not want him to die, because they didn't understand that that's what he was born to do. That's what he came in the world to do. According to prophecy, to be, as Isaiah 53 says, cut off for the sins of the people, right? So Yahshua had dealt with Peter on that end, and now you got the high priest dealing with it on another end, but they both were in agreement that his blood had to be shed. Simple as that, okay? So now let's get back to John the 19th chapter, and again, the Father gonna hit me with something else. We got two other places to go to. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. John the 19th chapter, how they were like, crucify him. You're gonna read that again, verse 6. John 19 and verse 6.
When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, hang him, hang him. Pilate says unto them, take you him and impale him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, we have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of Yahweh.
Mm.
When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and says unto Yahshua, whence art thou? But Yahshua gave him no answer. Then said Pilate unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Knowest you not that I have power to impale thee, and have power to release you?
Mm-hmm.
Yahshua answered, you should have no power at all against me, except it were given you from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto you has the greater sin.
Mm.
And from thence
that's kind of heavy, right? Where y'all mind at with that? What y'all thinking with that? What he's saying? Something that just drew out at me when he said, you can have no power against me except it were given thee from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto you have the greater sin. So the way I'm seeing it, just the way it hit me, and you all can add input, it's like he's talking directly to this Roman governor, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna let you know that you ain't got no power except it was given to you. But guess what though? I kind of know your heart. You don't want to crucify me, but the one that brought you to me, he the one got the greatest sin. Because he knew Pilate was scared. Pilate was like, that's deep. Y'all know, and I mean, just think about how deep it is. These, like, Gentiles now, police officers, every day we read about how they just doing things with us. But yet this Pilate was like, I ain't the one that's quick to just be killing y'all like that. You know what I'm saying? And they probably thought that, oh, Pilate gonna do it. It ain't nothing for us to get this dude killed. And they come to Pilate like, look, man, this dude say he's the son of Elohim. And now Pilate, and I don't know, maybe we look at this from a very historical view. Maybe Pilate knew something, right? Because when we read that when he died, the Romans were the one that put on their king, King of the Hebrews, right? King of the Yahudi. Pharisee says, no, don't put King of the Yahudi on there. Put he said he was the King of the Yahudi. He like, no, put it just like ain't that crazy? Man, one day if they ever put a movie, just put it just like it's written in the scripture, man, we'd be like, whoa, these Romans, some of them knew things that we should have known, but we didn't know. But they got checked. The so-called high priest got checked by these Gentiles. Like, no, ain't no he said, put just what I put on there. That's so I'm saying Pilate must have came probably from the same thought, because he wasn't, it was not for him to say, yeah, y'all go ahead and get rid of him. Ain't no big thing. It's one of y'all gone. But he like, but go ahead. Finish reading that. Yeah, read that 11 again.
Okay. Joshua answered, "You could have no power at all against me, except it were given to you from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto you has the greater sin." And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But
ain't that something? From thence. Because this Hebrew actually says something a little bit slick, and you would think like, oh no, yeah, you're going to die. If I got the power to kill you, you talking crazy to me, you're going to die. He was like, I don't want to mess with this guy. That is crazy to me when you really think about it, but go ahead.
And from thenceforth
right.
Pilate sought out to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, "If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whosoever make himself a king speaks against Caesar."
Boy, they was slick in that, wasn't they? That was like Satan's craftiness. Like right off the spot. This was not something that was preconceived, that they planned out. It was almost like comic timing. They say, man, your time, that's what they impeccable, right? They're like, okay, somebody came up, bro, you know what? I know I'm your servant, but I'm gonna let you know, hey, if you do this now, you gonna be in trouble. Go ahead.
When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Joshua forth and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha.
Right.
And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Jews, "Behold your king."
And see, that's very important. See, again, this is what confuses other people. Because later on, we're going to read about it was a preparation day, right? When they read that it was a preparation day, they think it's the 7th-day Sabbath, which is where we done had yesterday, so-called Good Friday. This is so-called Good Friday. But they understand this is really the midst of the week that this is going on. And that preparation day was not preparation of the weekly Sabbath. It was the preparation of Passover, just like what it says right here. Go ahead. Okay, and it was the preparation of Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Yahudi, "Behold your king." Go ahead.
But they cried out, away with him, impale him." Pilate says unto them, "Shall I impale your king?" The chief priest answered, "We have no king but Caesar."
Wow. Go ahead.
Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be impaled, and they took Joshua and led him away. And he, bearing his stake, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha.
So that must be in another one of the Gospels where he says, "I wipe my hands off of the matter." Right? Okay, go ahead.
Where they impaled him, and 2 other with him on either side, one and Joshua in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the stake, and the writing was, "Joshua of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Joshua was impaled was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, "Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written."
There it is. Y'all done tried to check me about all this other stuff, but I ain't gonna let y'all check me about this. Maybe that's what he said. But basically I just want to read that because again, and the main thing when I read that for was to show about the preparation. That day was the preparation, which also meant it shows you that the lambs had not yet died yet, right? Because the preparation is all day on the 14th day. But the actual killing of the lamb is at the even of the 14th day. So he was still alive until the time when the lamb was cut off. Same time he was cut off at the same time. No. But okay, moving right along. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, what's that, the 5th chapter? Yeah, 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. 1 Corinthians, 5th chapter, pick this up at the
Chapter 5.
5, yeah, and 6th verse.
Verse
6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your boasting is not good. Know you not that a little leaven the whole lump. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you are unleavened. For even the Messiah, our Passover, is sacrificed for us.
Right. I wonder if any Bible says Messiah, our Easter, is sacrificed. Right. Because we see, and here's the thing, those of us who understand the historical dynamic of this is Paul talking to these Corinthians here in his letter, and this was a good 20 years after he was, at least 20 years after he was crucified. So they were observing Passover, and they knew that Yahshua represented the Passover. Even Messiah, our Passover, sacrifice was verse 8.
Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. Absolutely. One more place real quick. Acts the 20th chapter.
Acts the 20th.
Yeah, Acts 20th chapter. Acts 20th chapter, and start this off at the first verse. Again, these are some considerable years after Yahshua has been crucified and resurrected. Acts 20:1.
And after the uproar was ceased, Paul called unto him the disciples, and embraced them, and departed for to go into Macedonia. And when he had gone over those parts, and he had given them much exhortation, he came into Greece, and there abode 3 months. And when the Jews laid wait for him, as he was about to sail into Syria, he purposed to return through Macedonia. And there accompanied him into Asia Sopater of Berea, and of the Thessalonians Aristarchus and Secundus, and Gaius of Derbe, and Timothy, and of Asia Tychicus and Trophimus.
Pretty good. Go ahead.
He's going before tarried for us at Troas. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days.
Right, so I just read that just to show again how they did not stop keeping these feast days and holy days. And here he was, Paul, going all over the place, but he knew that, these feast days had not really been done away with. All right. Before we close out in the reading of the Psalms, does anybody have any other passages they might want to read for this Passover, pertaining to Passover?
It's not a passage, but I was just wondering when what's his name, Herod, when Yohanan, Yahshua's cousin,
Right.
was killed.
Right.
The same guy was in charge, so that might have been kind of in the back of his mind. He knows they're cousins. He knew that.
You talking as far as John the Baptist being killed? Okay. Okay.
And that might have been playing in the back of his mind too when he said, "I wash my hands. Your blood's not on my hands."
Oh, talking as far as Pilate. Okay. Okay.
Because they took him before. The same people were still in charge.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Right. Wow. Yeah. Okay. put it up with him right because he died before Yahshua died. That's a very good observation. Because did something happen as a result of John the Baptist dying? Something had happened. We gotta go back and read that, but you make a good point though. It was like, man, we gonna have to go through this again. Right.
He knew he was wrong. When they killed him.
Right. That's a very, very good observation. Okay, absolutely.
How could John have written the book of John?
What's the difference in John? Yeah, that's a different John. Good question. Very good question. Yep, different John altogether. Yep. Anybody?
I want to read Matthew 26, 6 to 13.
26?
Well, I'm telling you, man, when you look at the scripture from this historical dynamic, boy, you stuff really makes sense. Yeah.
26 and 6.
Yeah, down to 13.
Okay. Now when Yahshua was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came into him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat down to eat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, "To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor." When Yahshua understood it, he said unto them, "Why trouble you the woman? For she has wrought a good work upon you. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily, verily I say unto you, wheresoever this good news shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman has done, be told for memorial of her."
Hallelujah.
Okay. Anybody got any questions, comments, or anything? Nobody want to share? Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at actually, the one that you was like, I think you were looking for this one, Matthew 27.
Okay.
19. I don't know if you read this already.
No, I didn't. Go ahead.
And it says, when he was sat down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, "Have thou nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of it." So this is why, they were not willing to crucify him, because his wife said, came to him, is like, "I suffered many things in a dream because of this man." And so he wasn't willing to put his hands on him because he knew that, something would have happened to him, that he was guilty of his blood. That's why he washed his hands. He was innocent.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Yeah, when they saw these signs or whatever, man, they didn't just take them things lightly, boy. They were like, man, look, this right here is much more than a notion.
Oh yeah.
Like in another place where when they described us as the people, they were like, "We know the wickedness of them Hebrews," whatever. It's like we see the truth, but we don't keep it. But yet the Gentiles, they see it and they like, "Whoa, whoa."
Yeah.
They be about it. Wow, man. Yeah. This whole chapter is pretty deep. I wish I would have read the whole thing because I'm seeing other stuff in there. But basically I didn't want to make this. But yeah, hey, hallelujah for this reading. Anybody? Someone? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say when you had touched on that 14th day and the 15th day, Leviticus 23. Looking at it from the standpoint of when you go to Matthew 24 and 20, it says, "But pray ye that your flight be not in the window, neither on the Sabbath day," taking that back to when we were first brought out of the land of Israel. They had to leave in that evening at that night, or the 14th day of the evening at that point, because if they wouldn't have, they wouldn't have been able to leave. Because like he says, pray that your flight be not in the winter or on the Sabbath day. Because no work can be done in the Sabbath day, or not to travel in the Sabbath day when you go into the body.
Right.
So we know that when he held the Pesach, it was still in that 14th day. Because why? Because that following day, it was still the 14th day. Because in Leviticus 23, it doesn't say that the Passover is a Shabbat. It says that the 15th day of the feast.
Right, that's correct.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to carry his state.
Right.
He wouldn't have been able to carry his state to the city. So just
Right.
looking at that from a standpoint of, now we understand why he said that. Now we understand why in Leviticus 23, it says the 14th day going into the 15th.
Right.
Because it does flow right in together.
Right.
And then we see Pilate saying, it's our custom on the Passah to give you to release somebody unto you. So
Right.
they have the understanding of, okay, this is the Passah, this is the Passover.
Right.
And we're still out here right now. Otherwise, they wouldn't have allowed him to be crucified.
Right. Cause I know they couldn't keep him up on the cross at sundown, like
But they were going into
the 15th day. Right. That's correct.
So you
Right.
see why
Right.
it said that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And though when it comes to the second Passover, because that's with us, we're going to be brought out. That's why he told us to pray for that specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pray that your flight be not in the wind on the Saturday. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Hey. Shalom, y'all. Good to see y'all. Yeah, we right at the end of the lesson. We're gonna somebody choose a song that we all can like stand up and read together, and not alone. I didn't pick one out, but you don't have to be no. It's not gonna be a long song. So don't none of y'all smart. What say Psalm 119?
129.
Somebody said 129?
No, 129.
Oh, 29.
I said 81.
Oh, 129 is real good.
Oh, yeah.
129.
Is it 129?
Oh, that'll work.
Okay, you know what? Let's do Psalm 29. So we're gonna stand up collectively and try to read this collectively. All right.
Oh,
Everyone.
Got my
29.
29. All right. Try to the best of our ability to read this in one voice. This is what I always like to do, but we don't do this in the library because they'd be ready to throw us out. But this is our gathering, so we able to do this. All right, y'all ready? All right. Give unto Yah, O ye mighty. Give unto Yahuwah glory and strength. Give unto Yahuwah the glory due unto his name. Worship Yahuwah in the beauty of holiness. The voice of Yahuwah is upon the waters. The Elohim of glory thundereth. Yahuwah is upon many waters. The voice of Yahuwah is powerful. The voice of Yahuwah is full of majesty. The voice of Yahuwah breaketh the cedars. Yea, Yahuwah breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. He maketh them also to skip like a calf. Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. The voice of Yahuwah divided the flames of fire. The voice of Yahuwah shaketh the wilderness. Yahuwah shaketh the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Yahuwah maketh the hinds to calve and discover the forest. And in his temple doth everyone speak of his glory. Yahuwah sitteth upon the flood. Yea, Yahuwah sitteth king forever. Yahuwah will give strength unto his people. Yahuwah will bless his people with peace. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise God. All right. That includes this portion of it. We're breaking now, and it's break. What time is it now? It's 4:32. It's going to be kind of a long break because we're not going to get into the eating of the Passover until 7 o'clock. All right. So whatever anybody want to do, we can build, introduce each other. Well, you all want to do a formal introduction since we got?
Yeah, we can do that. 2 people.
Okay. So we're gonna start with you, and then we're gonna start with you, then we're gonna go that way, then we're gonna come back this way.
So my name's Michael Williams. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I teach on spiritual combat. I teach a lot about spiritual development, relationships, stuff like that. Got a bunch of YouTube videos, everything like that. And I know majority of people here, but there's some of y'all that I've yet to see. Okay.
All right. Go ahead, bro. No. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Namdi Adinyahu. I'm a teacher. I've been all around, but my family my grandparents, my father is based here in Jacksonville, so that's why I'm here.
Hallelujah.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Corral. I live here in Jacksonville, and glad to meet you all.
Hallelujah. Where you from originally?
Chicago.
Make it plain. Make it plain. Make it plain. You don't have to say where you from. No, go ahead.
You always got your. My name is Pat Snipes. I'm a teacher in the Atlanta metro area, Praise Yah. And I'm happy to be here with you. It's my first time in Jacksonville. And,
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm just happy to see so many people, loving on Yah and reciprocating gifts that he's given.
Hallelujah.
I'm James Snipes. This is my mom. I'm just happy to be with you guys, with all the people who know God's name. It's really
Oh, shalom, y'all. My name is Corey. Just a brother, just a, that's really about it.
Shalom, my name is Nicole, and this is my husband, and praise the Lord for having Shabbat.
Hallelujah.
Hey, Shabbat shalom, everybody. My name is Jeremy. This is my wife, Brittany. Oldest daughter, Kaylin. My son, Noah, Bria, and my baby, Yana. We're originally from Louisiana, but right now we live out in Orange Park. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Hallelujah. Anybody else in this table? No? Okay. All right.
Yeah, Shabbat shalom. Chappelle, I came into the truth, but this brother out here, and came into the knowledge I was an Israelite a while ago, and found him, and we've been dealing with each other over the years, knew each other for about almost eight or 9.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
2 years, yeah. Yep. Hallelujah.
Shalom, my name is Andrea. I'm also online as Hannah for Yah, and I came into truth 2003 through meeting Josiah and building on the Word, and coming into the truth was amazing. And ever since then, just been building and learning, and I'm very grateful. So happy to be here.
Hallelujah.
Anyway, my name is Leah Israel. My family calls me Tyler, but I prefer Leah Israel. And I've been in this way since 2002. I came in Pittsburgh, originally from Syracuse, but I would drive all the way from Syracuse to Pittsburgh just to fellowship.
Hallelujah. I don't have to say nothing, do I?
Yes.
Do I? Okay. All right. Well, okay. My name is Josiah Israel, also known as Zebulon. I'm from the great city of Chicago, Illinois. Sister. All right. Hallelujah. No, Chicago. I got to build Chicago the best way I can because it is not nice. But anyway, I've been in this walk since 87, and I've been a Morey since 99 when I moved from Chicago to Atlanta, Georgia, and wrote the book, the website. What else? Basically, hey, you know what? I am happy to see all you all here in Jacksonville, man. Just like I said, the brother here has a face. I'm sorry, both of these brothers here, they have a Facebook group called
Jacksonville, Florida, Hebrew Israelites.
Right, Jacksonville, Florida, Hebrew Israelites. And I made a comment on there, like Jacksonville, Florida is where we absolutely collectively want to change the game in terms of how Hebrew Israelites are perceived. You see, so our ministry is called the Spirit of Yah. Chappelle and them, they have a fellowship that they meet every Shabbat. These brothers here, they have their own line fellowship. And this is what it's really supposed to be about. We are fellowshipping because we are at one people. We learn in part, we prophesy in part. And none of us is better than any other person. Especially if we try to deal with the whole thing about, well, how long you been in the truth? How long you been in the truth? Because, the Messiah taught us, it's the whole dynamic of when he gathered workers, right? And I could be considered one that was in the first hour. And what did he promise me? He promised me a penny. Then the other brother came in the second hour, third hour. So now when it comes down to payday, am I going to be upset because this brother got a penny because he paid him first? I'm like, I know I'm going to get more than that penny. Got to get more than that penny because I've been sweating longer than this brother been sweating, right? But then I get a rude awakening because it's not about that. It's about the fact that we want everybody to be partakers of the kingdom. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's not about no individuals, none of that. It's all about the Most High. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So for us to do what we have to do, we have to, again, recognize the aspects of the covenant that the Father made with our ancestors to be a blessing to all nations, all people, be a priest nation, and where people will see what the true Hebrew Israelite is about and not what they think the Hebrew Israelite is about. So that's what I'm about. That's what I hope we all are about. Hey, bless Passover. Bless Shabbat. Hallelujah. All right. Oh, do you want to do a quick introduction? Look at she.
My name is Shonda.
Well, tell us your truth experience.
The basement, 12 years. I just asked him a question. So my cousin came into my life and she said some stuff. And she said, well, this young lady was here. I was like, what? Widow. So I asked him. Next day I said, if I know you better, you answer my questions. So from that day forward, I just kept asking questions, and it seemed like everything I asked, the answers just landed on my nose, and it brings me to here today.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.